and welcome to Software Documentation. After watching this video, you will be able to list documentation formats, compare and contrast product documentation to process documentation, describe the categories and types of documentation, and explain the purpose of standard operating procedures. Software documentation is information about the software that describes what the product is and how to use it. These can be written, video, or graphical assets associated with a software product's development and use. Documentation can be in any of these three formats. Documentation is an essential aspect of software engineering applicable across all the phases of SDLC. Software documentation can be written for different types of audiences, such as end users, software developers, QA engineers, system administrators, and other stakeholders. Documentation can be divided into two categories, product and process. Product documentation relates to the product's functionality, whereas process documentation describes how to complete a task. Process documentation should provide the requirements for the quality implementation of a business process. Okay, now let's discuss some specific types of product documentation. There are many types of documentation, and we will discuss 5 categories, including requirements, design, technical, quality assurance, and user documentation. Requirements documentation is written during the planning phase of the SDLC and is intended for the development team, including the developers, architects, and QA personnel. Requirements documentation describes the expected features and functionality of the software system. It includes the software requirements specifications, system requirement specifications, and user acceptance specifications. Design documentation is written by the software architects and the development team to explain how the software will be built to meet the requirements. It consists of both conceptual and technical design documents. Technical documentation includes comments written in the code to help other developers read the code to understand its behavior. It also may include working papers that explain how the code works, and documents that record engineers' ideas and thoughts during project implementation. Quality assurance documentation includes all documents that pertain to a testing team's strategy, progress, and metrics. Types of test documentation include test plans, test data, test scenarios, test cases, test strategies, and traceability matrices. Traceability matrices map test cases to their requirements. User documentation is intended for end users and explains how to operate the software or help them to install or troubleshoot the system. End user documentation includes frequently asked questions, installation and help guides, tutorials, and user manuals. Standard operating procedures, called SOPs, often accompany process documentation. Process documentation provides an overview of a process, but SOPs go through much greater detail. The SOP is written documentation that explains step by step how to accomplish a common yet complex task that is organization specific. For example, checking in code using a code repository is common knowledge for a software engineer. However, an organization might have specific steps to follow for that organization in order to get code merged into the main branch. The SOP documentation explains those steps in detail. SOPs can be in the form of a flowchart, a hierarchical outline, or step-by-step instructions. Documentation in any form must be kept up to date. Take, for instance, online user manuals. If a cloud-based application user interface changes, then the accompanying online documentation must be updated accordingly. Businesses need to ensure they allot resources for this step. With regards to the software development in the SDLC, updating documentation happens during the maintenance phase. Ideally, documentation should also be reviewed periodically to ensure its accuracy. In this video, you learned that documentation comes in 3 formats: written, video, or graphical. Process documentation describes how to complete a task. Product documentation relates to how a product functions. The types of product documentation include requirements, design, technical, QA, and user. And SOPs are written instructions detailing an organization-specific procedure.